Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Senate Committee on Growth and Infrastructure. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Hammond? Senator Hansen?
Here.
Senator Pizzina?
Present.
Senator Spearman?
Here.
Chair
Here.
Harris?
So let the record show that we do have a quorum, and Chair Harris is presenting in another committee. And no, this is not her. She's presenting in another committee, and she will be in just as soon as she finishes. We have 3 members present, and we have one bill, as I understand this today, and it's Senate Bill 11.
2 bills.
2 bills. Well, the first one we'll hear is Senate Bill 11. It requires the Department of Public Safety to adopt regulations relating to the use of registered unmanned aerial vehicles or drones for certain purposes. Okay. Okay, please begin when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Spearman and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Stephen Wood, representing the Nevada League of Cities and Municipalities. And thank you for the opportunity to present SB 11 to you today. With me today from the city of Henderson is David Cherry, to my right here, who is their Government Affairs Manager. And at Grant Sawyer is Brandon Kimball, who is an Assistant City Attorney. And over Zoom is Lynn Nielsen, who is their Manager of Plans Examination Services. So SB 11 requires the Department of Public Safety to adopt regulations for the use of drones for building and fire safety inspections conducted by local governments. The use of drones is an important tool that local governments need for these specific inspections, as it can be dangerous or impossible at times to view certain parts of a building or property from the ground. Drones can allow for a complete inspection, including roofs, high ceilings, and necessary aerial views that will allow an inspector to remain safe while ensuring the public's safety by guaranteeing that the building and fire codes are being met. Before I turn it over to David for more background on why we're here presenting this bill, I also wanted to mention that there are a couple amendments being presented today as well. The first is our amendment, and it does several things. First, it requires that the inspections be scheduled with the property owner. Second, it prohibits the use of any information gathered by the inspection using a drone for any law enforcement purposes. And lastly, our amendment prohibits the drone from capturing any photographs or recording any videos. The drone would simply act as the eyes of the inspector. The second amendment places restrictions on the drones that can be purchased or used by public agencies or law enforcement entities. Chris Ferrari is here, and he will walk you through that amendment later on for your consideration, and we do consider that a friendly amendment as well. So now I'd like to turn it over to David Cherry.
Thank you, Stephen. Good afternoon, Vice Chair, members of the committee. For the record, David Cherry, Government Affairs Manager for the City of Henderson. Existing law allows a public agency such as a city to use an unmanned aerial vehicle or UAV for specific public purposes that are outlined in regulations adopted by the Nevada Department of Public Safety, or DPS. These are contained in Nevada Administrative Code, or NAC, section 493-100. Currently, under this section of NAC, there are 17 uses of UAVs by public agencies that are authorized. SB 11 simply requires DPS to adopt regulations that would add a new authorized use for UAVs by public agencies to this existing list. Once in place, this regulation would allow a city or other public agency to use a UAV to conduct inspections to ensure compliance with building and fire codes. My city colleague Lynn Nielsen will explain in greater detail the benefits that this will provide to inspectors and the public. It is important to note that SB 11 does not change any regulatory authority now vested in DPS, nor does it alter the process the department currently uses for adopting new regulations, including those pertaining to the use of UAVs by public agencies. And as Stephen mentioned, there are safeguards in the amendment that we are presenting today that limit its application to a very narrowly tailored need. We appreciate the Nevada League of Cities carrying SB 11 at the request of the City of Henderson, and we believe that it will add a valuable new tool to help ensure compliance with codes meant to protect our communities. I would like to now invite Lynn Nielsen to share more about how UAVs will be used in inspections.
Thank you, David. Good afternoon.
Chairman and members of the committee. For the record, Lynn Nilsson. I am with the City of Henderson Building and Fire Safety Division. I'm the Manager of Plans Examination Services for the City of Henderson, and I'm also the Fire Protection Engineer for the City of Henderson. Our staff at the City of Henderson perform inspections on both building permits and on fire permits. One of the difficulties that we have, though, is that oftentimes our inspections take us to places where our inspectors simply can't go. For example, up ladders, on boom lifts, on man lifts, on scaffolding. These areas we are not allowed to have our inspectors go due to safety reasons. And for that challenge that we have, our inspectors have had to resort to using binoculars, trying to find locations in a building or on an adjacent building where they can observe using their binoculars the item that they're trying to inspect that has been permitted. That has caused challenges for our staff. For that reason, we're seeking to have this new item added to the list of 17 so that our inspectors will be able to more effectively carry out the inspections that they are required to do under their duties. And I will now turn it back to David Cherry. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lynn. And now I'd like to, David Cherry, for the record, I'd like to please ask our Assistant City Attorney, Brandon Kimball, who's in Las Vegas with us today, to please walk you through the bill and the amendment. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Just doing a check real quick that you can hear me and that I have everything set up okay from the audio perspective.
We can hear you.
Thank you. Brandon Kimball from the City of Henderson. I think the bill's already been outlined 2 or 3 times by folks up there and by Mr. Nielsen. But just to make clear, we are proposing an amendment or a language that would amend NRS Chapter 493. It does one very simple thing. It requests that the Department of Public Safety add the additional use to allow unmanned vehicles to be used for inspections to ensure compliance with building and fire code laws, ordinances, regulations, or rules adopting or establishing building or fire codes that are enforced by the public agency, and that is it. The original language of the bill proposed allowing inspection of public works or other real properties. That has been stricken through our proposed amendment. We reached out to constituent groups who were concerned about privacy, and I think the proposed amendment offers the belt and suspenders version of safety protection that you would be looking for, or privacy protections that you would be looking for, and should assuage even the most stringent advocates of privacy. Already existing in law under Chapter 493.112 subsection 4 is a prohibition against using any photographs obtained through the drone usages by law enforcement or any other government personnel for any other purpose other than these building and fire inspections. However, the amendment goes even further. Our amendment would require the Department of Public Safety to implement almost mirroring the language of the statutory protections that are already there, limiting the use of any photographs obtained through the unmanned vehicles. But we go even a step further in subsection C to require that no photographs be taken in the first place. So there's an extra safety measure in the event that a photograph is somehow taken by a drone by someone, which would be prohibited under a promulgated rule by the Department of Safety. Even in that circumstance, that photograph could not be used by law enforcement for any other purpose. So there is no safety, additional privacy measure that I could contemplate that someone would be looking for in this amendment. This simply allows our folks in building and fire safety to access unsafe areas that could not otherwise be accessed in a safe manner, to do the job that they can already do, which is inspect buildings for code and fire safety purposes. And if you have any other questions, I am happy to address those. That is the bill and the amendments. Thank you.
This is Stephen Wood for the record again. Thank you again for hearing this bill, and we're open for questions from the committee.
Thank you. Just before I do that, I'm going to go back up and did not read some of the instructions. Somebody has a microphone on. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so everybody that has something to go ring, ding, Mary had a little lamb, something like that, make sure you turn it off or put it on silent. And give the committee secretary your business card if you have one. And when testifying, turn the microphone on. And here is our chair.
They just completed the presentation, and before she was, but just was doing reminders before people started their questions.
Okay, so it sounds like your presentation went swimmingly and there are no questions. I'm kidding. All right, we're going to go ahead and take some questions from the committee members, if that's okay with you all. We'll start with Senator Pezzina.
Thank you so much, Chair, Vice Chair, and for the swimming presentation. I did have a question. I was looking at one of the friendly amendments, and I noticed it mentioned that this section would become effective on January 1st, 2025. So just to confirm, it will not become effective then on October 1st, 2023?
This is Stephen Wood for the record. Chris Ferrari is here, and he'll present that amendment during testimony, unless you would like him to come up now, but that's up to you. But that provision is in the amendment. My understanding is that it's there to make sure that existing drones that are being used by government agencies now don't have to be scrapped.
We'll go ahead and get the amendment out of the way with the bill presentation, since it's a friendly amendment. And Mr. Ferrari, you're up.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Chris Ferrari on behalf of Brink, which is a Las Vegas-based drone company and U.S. manufacturer, in support of SB 11 as amended. Senator Spearman is very familiar with this topic as well. The purpose of this amendment is public safety and awareness. Drones were originally developed as consumer products, as you're all aware, and have evolved into critical public safety tools that are used by many agencies and that are typically connected to the internet, require firmware upgrades, etc. In 2019, Congress, through the National Defense Authorization Act, instructed the Department of Defense to start creating and managing a list of prohibited foreign telecommunications and video surveillance services or equipment due to the threat of data exploitation. On October 5th of 2022, President Biden's Defense Department placed the largest drone manufacturer on this list of, and I quote, it's Chinese military companies operating in the United States, end quote. The language is from the National Defense Authorization Act, and that company in question has roughly 80% of the state and local public safety drone market. So this amendment will require the Department of Public Safety, with whom we have spoken, to develop a list of countries, businesses, and entities from which a public or law enforcement agency shall not acquire drones or related products. It will reference federal guidelines through the National Defense Authorization Act to provide current information and clarity for all Nevada government entities. American-made systems are better able to address the needs of American public safety agencies. They speak the same language, use domestically created parts. The effective date to your question is regarding 2025, is, as Mr. Wood indicated, to allow agencies to have a ramp down in advance of this taking effect. And that's it. Thank you.
Did that answer your question, Senator Pezzina?
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. Additional questions? Senator Hansen?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Actually, questions for the attorney down in Las Vegas. Reached out to our former colleague, Elliot Anderson, who 2017, I think it was, actually wrote the first main drone bill, I think, that we had in the NRSs. And I wanted his opinion on the bill. And the one thing he said was, look, they currently have the ability under regulation to do this. Why do we have to come and do it in the NRS when the Department of Public Safety apparently already has that authority?
Senator Hansen, Brandon Kemble from the City of Henderson. If you look at NAC 493-100, it has the list 1 through 17 of the purposes for which the department has authorized uses of unmanned vehicles. It's possible that you could argue under the statute that the city does have this ability, but the department, which was responsible for promulgating regulations pursuant to the statute, has outlined these specific purposes, and building and fire safety is not amongst the list of inspections that are authorized by the department. So what we're looking to do is have the department, so that we're not in violation of any section of NAC, just add that section that maybe we could argue under the law we have pursuant to the statute, but we certainly don't have it under the regulation, and it would be a lot better if we did. And that's the reason we're asking the department to add that to that list of 17 specific uses for which drones can be used by public entities.
Okay, no, I just want to make sure that's clear. No, I like the amendments. I think it's actually tightened it up. You know, the biggest concern when this whole drone issue came up was public safety, and also the concept that, you know, you're supposed to be free from unreasonable searches by the government. I had a case where a guy in Sparks, this goes back years ago, where the city of Sparks was doing some kind of drone thing, and they discovered that he built a shed in his backyard and didn't get the permit for it. So, you know, I was like, I don't like that idea of government being able to snoop. So not only does your bill clean that up, but it actually makes it further restrictive under the City of Henderson's amendment. So anyway, I think that clears up my concerns. But yeah, bottom line to me is you guys get to use these things for absolute limited purposes, and any additional things that you might find cannot be used in a court of law against anybody, and I think that's well covered by your amendment. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, any additional questions from members? Okay, not seeing any. We'll go ahead and open up for testimony. Anybody here to testify in support of Senate Bill 11, go ahead and fill the seats.
Nick Ciccone, City of Reno, Legislative Relations Program Manager. For the record, I'll keep it short and sweet. We're in support.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Kelly Crompton, representing the City of Las Vegas. We thank the bill sponsors for bringing this forward, and we also support.
All right, not seeing any additional people in Las Vegas to testify, so we'll go to the phones. BPS, anyone who'd like to testify in support of Senate Bill 11 on the phone line?
Thank you, Chair. There are no callers at this time.
Okay, we'll open it up for testimony in opposition. Anyone want to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 11 here in Carson City? All right, again, still no one down in Las Vegas. So BPS, would you please check the phone line for opposition to Senate Bill 11?
Thank you, Chair. There are no callers choosing to testify at this time.
All right, we'll go ahead and move to the neutral position. Anyone here want to testify in neutral on Senate Bill 11? You'll get your photo taken. No? No, okay. Anybody want to testify in the neutral down in Las Vegas? Not seeing any. And BPS, if you could please check the phone lines to see if there's anyone who'd like to testify in the neutral position for Senate Bill 11. BPS, anyone on the phone to testify in the neutral position for Senate Bill 11?
Thank you, Chair. There are no callers at this time.
Okay, no closing remarks. We'll go ahead and close the hearing then on Senate Bill 11 and open the hearing on Senate Bill 205 and welcome our colleague, Senator Hansen. Welcome, sir. Go ahead and begin whenever you are ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm Ira Hansen, representing Senate District 14. Because we're up against the clock, since we have to be on the floor in 7 minutes, really quickly, I am bringing to you Senate Bill 205. What it does, currently under Nevada law, off-highway vehicles have to be registered once a year. The almost exclusive purpose of this law is to simply create a 3-year registration window for those who desire it. The fees will remain the same, between $20 and $30 per year. So it would be, if you go to a 3-year window, it would be it would be $60 to $90. The other thing in the amendment, if you'll take a look at that, the amendment also has a reciprocity clause where if other states agree, right now in Nevada law, you're allowed to come into the state and not register an OHV if you're here for 15 days or so. More than that, you do have to get the license. What we want to do is have a reciprocity clause so that other states will treat us the same way. And in fact, if they don't, then the 15-day window wouldn't operate if, Montana, Arizona, whoever does not give our citizens that same opportunity. So the DMV is going to come real quick. I'm trying to make this really, really quick, but the fiscal note should be going away. There was concern from Department of Conservation and Natural Resources about the dollar amounts, and we kept them exactly the same, so there's no fiscal concern. Department of Motor Vehicles are going to come up here in a minute, and they'll explain that if we implement this, when they implement this new system in place, there will be no additional costs. That way we avoid the fiscal concern. So the entire purpose of the bill is basically to allow people that use off-highway vehicles an opportunity, if they wish, to register either 1 year or 3 years. No changes in costs or anything, so no fiscal impact. And with that, Madam Chair, I will conclude my testimony.
All right. Well done, sir. Thank you. We'll go ahead and open it up for testimony then. Anyone here would like to testify in support of Senate Bill 205 here in Carson City? Okay. We'll go to Las Vegas. Anyone in Las Vegas like to testify in support of Senate Bill 205? Not seeing anyone. BPS, can we check the phones to see if there's anyone who'd like to testify in support of Senate Bill 205?
If you would like to testify in support of Senate Bill 205, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Caller ending in 638, you are unmuted and may begin.
Good afternoon. This is Matthew Giltner. I am the Executive Director of the Nevada Off-Road Association. We are a Nevada 501c3, Nevada nonprofit 501c3 based here in the Carson Valley. We speak in support of this amendment for changing the financial considerations of a 3-year registration to reflect essentially 3 times the annual recreation fee for the registrations, the OHV registrations. Our community puts about $110 million a year into the economy, and most of that does end up in rural Nevada, where we can actually use that funding to its most generous possible way. These communities quite bluntly need the funding. The only consideration that I had that probably needs a little bit of a sharper look would be for the reciprocity. I agree with Senator Hansen tenfold. However, I would encourage this committee to remove the VIN inspection requirement for out-of-state registrations. That's nearly, not impossible, but certainly difficult within the state, and I suspect that would be a hurdle moving forward for anybody that is going to be buying a registration for an out-of-state vehicle to ride here in Nevada. I have nothing else unless anybody has any questions.
No, thank you. We appreciate you testifying. BPS, can we get the next caller, please?
Thank you.
If you would like to testify in support of Senate Bill 205, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Hello, I'm Laura Butcher, owner and CEO of Valley Off-Road Race Association. I would like to put in my support of this amendment and just for the record state that putting on off-road events throughout the state of Nevada. We try really hard to bring economic boosts to the small towns throughout our state, and supporting this really helps with some of the programs that we work with, and seeing it just kind of start to get off the ground. I'd like to continue to support this, and we're agreeable to it being a 3-year versus 1-year program, but would like to make sure that, you know, the funding doesn't get cut.
There are no additional callers at this time, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And in my haste, I skipped committee questions, Senator Hansen, and so we have a question from Senator Pezzina.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Thank you for the presentation. This is more a question because I've never registered an off-road vehicle, but are there any safety inspections? Is there anything usually done on an annual basis when that vehicle is going through its registration process?
Ira Hansen, for the record. I'm not sure. We have the Department of Motor Vehicles are going to come up and testify neutral, and we'll ask them to answer that.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to opposition testimony. Anyone here in Carson City to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 205? Is it because Senator Hansen refuses to leave his seat? No? Okay. Anybody in Las Vegas? Not seeing anyone. BPS, can we check the phone, see if there's anyone like to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 205?
Thank you, Chair. There are no callers choosing to provide testimony at this time.
Thank you so much. We'll go ahead and move to neutral testimony. I'm guessing this is where the DMV is going to make its appearance. Welcome, Mr. Sever. And if you could just start by addressing Senator Pezzina's question of whether there are any safety inspections required upon renewal of registration.
Sean Sever from the Nevada DMV. Hello, Chair and committee members. I'm going to defer that question over to the DCNR. We just handle the VIN inspection part. So we are...
Mr. Sever, quick question then.
Yeah.
Is there a VIN inspection each time it's re-registered or just once?
It's just the first time the vehicle is registered in Nevada.
Okay, great. Thank you. Please continue.
All right, Sean Sever from the Nevada DMV. We are neutral on SB 205. Did submit a fiscal note with impact on the bill. However, this would be significantly reduced, if not eliminated, with the amendment, and if the bill implementation date is moved to after the DMV's transformation effort. We were unclear on the revenue impact on the original bill, and it has been clarified that we won't be losing any revenue. And then moving back the implementation date would also be a big help to the DMV and prevent us from computer programming in both of our IT systems, the new and the old, which involves hiring contracted programmers. We greatly appreciate the bill sponsor working with us on this bill, and thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Harris and members of the committee. My name is Nikhil Narkade, and I serve as the program manager for the Nevada Off-Highway Vehicles Program. The program is neutral with respect to Senate Bill 205. The OHV program within the Department of Natural Resources and Conservation, the OHV program within the Nevada Department of Conservation and Natural Resources promotes safe and responsible use of Nevada's opportunities for off-road recreation. The program also administers grants for projects statewide. Presently, OHV registrations require annual renewal. With few exceptions, this registration is required for OHVs recreating on public lands. Nevada's 9-member Commission on Off-Highway Vehicles grants funding for projects from revenue generated by these Nevada off-highway vehicle registrations. The conceptual amendment to SB 205 offering a triennial registration while retaining an annual option will positively impact members of the OHV community and increase efficiency in registration processing. Because OHV registrations can only be completed by mail and are separated from the regular motor vehicle database, availability of a triennial registration would reduce the amount of paperwork Nevadans need to mail in to remain in compliance with the OHV laws. Section 2, as amended, satisfies concerns of lost OHV revenue identified in the fiscal notes submitted by our department. We support continued authority for the Nevada Commission on Off-Highway Vehicles to set fees for OHV registration. Finally, adding language addressing reciprocity will help mitigate natural resource impacts caused by visitors who bring their OHVs to recreate in Nevada. Without impacting fees on Nevadans, it will require visitors of non-reciprocating states to contribute to the revolving account on off-highway vehicles. Thank you, Senator Hansen, for bringing SB 205 to the table, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have on the bill or our program.
Just one. Are there any ongoing safety requirements for the annual registration?
No, there's no safety requirement on OHVs.
Okay, thank you so much for your testimony. We will go ahead and close the hearing then on Senate Bill 205. Oh, actually, we did not do neutral in Vegas, which there's none, and neutral on the phone. BPS, can you check if there's anyone who wants to testify in the neutral on the phone, please?
Thank you, Chair. We currently have no callers at this time.
Okay, we will now close the hearing on Senate Bill 205 and turn it over to public comment. Anyone want to give public comment here in Carson City? I am not seeing anyone in Las Vegas. Anyone to give public comment on the phone, BPS?
Thank you, Chair. The lines are open and working, but there are no callers at this time.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, with that, this committee is adjourned. Have a great day.